They say the longest nights are the ones you spend in pain. But that night, pain wasn't just in my body, it was in my soul. I didn't know I would wake up and be the same person again. I didn't know the real fight hadn't even begun. And this is the part people don't often see. The pain, the waiting, the uncertainty, the long nights where faith is just the only thing that keeps you breathing. Hi everyone, welcome back to my turning points. If you're here for the first time, I'm David Olaiwola, and this is the real, unfiltered story of my life after a life-changing accident. In episode 1, I shared my life before the crash, and the moment I wake up in the hospital to words I never had imagined. You may never walk again. So today, I want to take you inside my first insights after the accident, the confusion, the fear, and the question that kept me awake after hearing those words and the tiny spark of hope that somehow kept me breathing through it all. I remembered my first night in ICU in the intensive care unit. I couldn't sleep. I was left alone with my thoughts. The lights were too bright. The room smells like disinfectants. I could hear machines beeping, nurses walking past, someone groaning in pain down the hall. But while on oxygen, I couldn't feel my legs. I tried several things. I tried lifting my hands. Also, nothing happened. I tried to turn. Nothing happened. That was the moment I realized this was serious. So the next morning, the doctor came in with the MRI. I remembered one of the doctors. Yeah, he examined my body and asked me to make any movements, but I just couldn't. No movement at all. So he used cotton wool to check for sensations and a faded metal to prick me just to see if I'll feel pain or to see the sensation. I couldn't. I could only feel my face down to my shoulder. The rest of my body, no sensation, no movements. The only movement I could make or I could do was to shrug my shoulder. And the doctor said, he said it was a very severe spinal cord injury. And then I remember my sister and my uncle was there. They were trying to make the doctors not to break the news, not to tell me the whole story of it. But he insisted. He insisted I need to be aware. He brought the MRI closer to me. He showed me the MRI and then he started to explain. He told me there was a compressment in my neck. I I just stared cluelessly at the results because my mind was gone. Nothing was going in. But the only thing that caught my attention was when the doctor said I need to be prepared for surgery immediately and that it can't be delayed. Fear gripped in when I was told they would have to put a metal and a screw in my neck. I remember the surgery I had when I was little, yeah. And it was around, I think it was around 13, 14. And then it nearly took my life. Ever since then, I've been scared of surgery. So instantly, when I heard that fever came, it burned through my body. I was so hot and it was so bad that surgery was too dangerous to be done. Every day I laid there, I felt like hope slipping further away. I couldn't fight it. I could only watch the hours going, passing, and I kept on wondering, will I ever walk again? Eating wasn't the only fight. Every test, every drug, every day in high C had a price tag. You didn't even have the money. I saw it in my family's face. I saw it in their faces. Even when they gave us the cost of the surgery, my sister busted into tears. All hope was gone. I remember the question she was just keep asking herself was, where do we start from? Who should we meet? You know, the way they calculated in silence, the way they prayed over receipts, lost in thought, and but still, loved with worry. And the question none of us dare to ask, how long can we keep going? At that moment, I remember trying to say goodbye to my uncle and sis because I couldn't think of anything. All hope was gone. I saw myself as a burden to everyone. And my uncle held my hands that day and said, all will be well. And he said, all I need you to do for me is not to give up. He said he would find means. I remember that day I cried bitterly. But I was happy. I was joyful in heart. So after weeks of waiting for the fever to subside, because it kept on fluctuating, then the doctor had no choice but to go for the alternative. Yeah, because they just can't leave me there. So they had to go for the alternative. But when I heard that they can't go on with the surgery anymore, I thought the alternative was going to be less painful. But I never knew that one itself is another pain entirely. I was told I will be placed on Gardner Wells stone traction and that we should go and get the equipment ready. They gave my sister the list of items. So on the day I was going to be placed on the traction, I was given an anesthesia injection to relieve me of the pain I even somehow experienced. I was told it was drilled to my skull right above my ear, and a weight was attached to the thumb. Yeah, it was a rope and an iron bucket with 4 kg stone inside just to pull my neck. Yeah, I spent my Christmas and New Year in ICU. I kept on asking God, why me? Why now? My mind ran through everything I might. I was just thinking of all the things I might never do again. Walk, run, cooking. I really love to cook. I remembered there was a particular time I was called David Pepper. I love to cook. I love to sew. I'm a model. I was jack of all trade because I had to learn several things just to keep myself going in school and to keep myself, as much independent as possible. And I kept on asking myself if I would ever be able to do the things I love to do again. The pain wasn't just physical; it was just the thought of losing myself. I I was later moved to the world. Yeah, I remember not just one in UCH after my breathing became stable. The plan initially was for me to carry the traction for 6 weeks, but I think my body had other ideas. 6 weeks turned into 12. 12 long weeks of lying flat with metal pins drilled into my skull, weights pulling at my neck. All I could do was just keep staring, stay in one spot without moving. I couldn't even turn. I couldn't scratch my face. I couldn't even wipe my own tears. Because on the 6th week, when it was 6th week after carrying the gardener rolls, we went for an X-ray to check if my neck has been fixed correctly. But unfortunately, no. And then it kept on like that. The doctors kept on adding to 2 weeks to check. We kept on going for FA study to check. Even the procedure to check the neck self, the procedure to check if the neck had been fixed was so painful. Not to talk of the disappointment of my neck not being fixed yet. I remember even the doctors are already giving up on me, telling me the only solution left is surgery. Instead, I was going to carry the gardener balls. So I ended up carrying for 12 weeks. 12 weeks of staring at the same ceiling, losing all sense of time, wondering if my body was slowly giving up on me. That day, on the 12th week, it was 2 days to my birthday. I had to plead with God, and then I held on to the faith. I told God to give me a birthday gift, and then we wait for the history. I remember that day when we were going to the history room, I just kept on singing because I don't want any distraction or anything to make my faith shaky. So we went for the history that day, and then miraculously, I don't know, God did it. Yeah, my neck has been healed. Like I was the happiest person that day. God finally heard my cry. And the doctor told me after checking the X-ray, examined my neck well, and I was told they were going to remove it. And then the next day, my sister had to, they had to do a surprise. Everyone's mind was settled. Hope kept on. We, since the thorn has been removed, we were happy. So they had to surprise me, go get, because the next day was my birthday. And then I celebrated my birthday in the world, funnily enough. And I even had to keep it as a surprise for my uncle. He wasn't there that day when they removed the thorn. So he didn't know the traction was taking off. I kept it as a surprise just to surprise him, and I knew I was going to be surprised anyway. He 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 came, he came to celebrate with me on my birthday, and then I remembered he got a clothes that had no fitting. It was very, very big. It was looking like an hospital gown. I was so happy that day when he came and I saw the traction had been removed. I could see the joy in his face. That day, everyone was so happy. We sang and sang. He brought drinks. I remember my sister bought cake. Yeah, all I could just do that day was, Lord, thank you. I was just crying. was cheerful at the same time. I was so happy. Yeah. Well, we ended up spending 5 months in the hospital. That's how long I stayed. Every day was a battle against pain, against despair, against the voice in my head saying, "You will never be the same again." But I held on somehow, yeah. Because somewhere deep down, I believe that if I could survive this, I could survive anything. The day they finally removed the traction, I was made to sit up for the first time. After several months of lying flat on one spot, I held my breath, expecting the weight of pain to lift, not to lift up and my whole life to come rushing back. But instead, nothing. My legs were still lifeless. My body still felt foreign. And in that moment, I thought, yeah, maybe this is it. Maybe this is where my story ends, because no one told me that I won't be okay. I wouldn't be okay, or I won't be able to move my hands after the tongues, after that painful traction. And so when they removed it, and I noticed I just couldn't move my hands and still couldn't move my legs yet. I thought my story had ended, but life had other plans. Because what I thought was the end was really the first step towards something I could never have imagined. In the next chapter, I would be taking you all into the room where pain met possibility, where my new beginning was born. So if this part of my journey moved you, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next episode. Share this with someone who needs a little hope today. And together, let's keep standing. Bye for now.